Welcome to part 43 of Basic Training. Today we're going to cover everything you need to know to play Wild Woods on 150cc. The recommended build for this course is going to be our usual try-hard build of Roy, Bitty Buggy, Azure Rollers, and Paper Glider. Hold down the item button before the run begins so that you can use your mushroom as soon as you start moving. Coins are pretty hard to come by on this track, so we're going to take the left-hand path on lap 1. Trick off the ramp at the end of the bridge section, and then after landing, start a right drift, releasing your mini turbo as soon as you grab the second coin. What you want to do is take a tight line around this turn by doing a left hop into a left drift before building up the mini turbo. This is going to require that you've got good soft drifting though, so if that's not the case for you, then just ignore that first right hop. And now, the barrel cut. It's actually a lot easier than it looks. You see how there are these yellow marks on the edges of the bridge? Just aim for those, following the line that I've drawn on the screen here. Even though there's a gap between here and here, as long as you aim to be on these markings the whole time, you'll drift right over it. Once again, if you got good soft drifting, then you can build up an ultra mini turbo before the glider, but even if you just get a super mini turbo, you still want to hang it off the right hand side of the glider ramp and do some glider vectoring. After landing, we want to grind the track barrier on the left to build up a super mini turbo before tricking off the ramp here. It's pretty precise, but unfortunately I don't have much of a good setup for it. You kinda just have to practice to get a feel for it, which is actually also true of the shortcut we've got coming up. But don't worry, we'll get to that soon. Before then, it's important to point out that moving with the water here makes you go faster, so we want to spend as much time in the water as possible. However, it's actually better to try and take a really tight line after these ramps by doing a delayed trick off both of them. For the second ramp in particular, you want to make sure you're taking a really tight line by aiming towards the dry part of the track to the right hand side of the little waterfall. Now we've come to what will undoubtedly be the most frustrating part of the track for all of you. When going off these orange boost ramps, we want to avoid tricking off of them. This is because if you notice, the boost from the orange boost ramp lasts all the way to the second orange boost ramp. Aside from that, the trick boost will actually cannibalize the orange boost ramp boost, and keep that in mind because it's about to be really important. Actually, let's put that aside for just a second because in fact we are going to trick off the last orange boost ramp, and then... Okay, so what the hell was that? Basically what's going on is that when you trick off a ramp with some kind of boost, the boost speed gets maintained throughout the entire jump. But if you just trick off the orange boost ramp, that trick boost would run out well before you get to the next ramp. So what we want to do is delay the trick off the orange boost ramp as much as possible. If you pay close attention, you can see that I don't really start the trick animation until I'm almost fully over the water in front of the ramp. The next thing that you want to do is hop as soon as you hit the ground, and this actually causes the trick boost not to come out until after you land from the hop. These two things will delay the trick boost long enough for you to carry it all the way to the brown ramp before tricking off of it. And when tricking, you want to make sure to delay the trick off of that ramp as much as you can because for some reason this actually causes you to get a lot of fast airtime. Now how you approach the last step in this cavalcade of horror is dependent on whether or not you got the fastest possible delayed trick off of that ramp. If you're not moving fast enough, which is what you can see going on here, then you'll have to jump a bit early so that you can time out another jump to land on the ramp. The reason being that if you jump too late, you'll jump right in front of the ramp, and to avoid losing all your speed, you'll have to do another jump. But unfortunately, that jump will carry you clean over the ramp and you'll fall into the pit below. If instead you got the fastest possible airtime like the world record does, you'll get this crazy angle when going off of the brown trick ramp, and a single jump will carry you all the way to the ramp at the end of the shortcut. But just be warned that getting this set up perfectly is incredibly difficult. What makes it so tough is that these damned lily pads are moving back and forth. As far as I can tell, you need to hit all three of them to make this work, but because of the pace that I get here at, they're kinda staggered. This is a problem because if you go off the last ramp at a bad angle, you'll be bouncing all over the place by the time you get to it, and you just straight up can't get the delayed trick off the orange boost ramp. If you try, you'll just fall right back onto the track without tricking at all. Fortunately, this is way less of a problem on laps 2 and 3, at least for me, because the ramps are almost in a straight line, which makes the delayed trick a lot easier to get. Now I'm gonna level with you all. This strategy is so difficult to learn. I actually had help from 3 different people in the MK Leaderboard's Discord server, namely you, Grace, and the current world record holder himself, Panda. And it still took me more than an hour to figure out how to hit it with any amount of consistency. It's this really weird thing where like you can have somebody explain it to you, right? Delay the trick off the orange boost ramp, hop as soon as you land to delay the trick boost, and then trick off the orange boost ramp. You can watch somebody execute it in real time, understand theoretically exactly what you need to do, but then trying to execute it yourself just doesn't make any sense until all of a sudden, it just does. Try it for yourself and let me know down in the comments if you're able to figure it out, because I would love to think that my explanations actually provided some amount of assistance to you all. It should probably go without saying, but if you're finding all this too difficult, then just drive around the shortcut and build up a couple of mini turbos. Let's stop dwelling on this now because we're not quite done talking about strats yet. Once we get to lap 2, we're going to start a right drift and release as soon as we get a super mini turbo. Then we're going to do a right hop before tricking off the ramp so that we can more easily build up a mini turbo on this path. Follow it up with a couple of tricks before making our way back to the bridge section. Now instead of doing the barrel cut like on lap 1, we're just going to mushroom through it while building up an ultra mini turbo. The world record plays the first part of lap 2 fairly differently. After building up the super mini turbo, they do one more left hop into a right drift to mini turbo trick off of that first ramp. They then do a slide jump off the last ramp and then take a really tight line around the barrel cut because they do motion glider on all 3 laps instead of just normal glider vectoring like we did. Now that's it for the strats. Let's talk a bit more about the track while checking out my current personal best. And by the way, if this video has been helpful to you so far, please don't forget to click that like button so it can get spread to more people, because this is by far the best way to help out the channel. Thank you very much. Now, Wild Woods. I made it no secret that this is my favorite track in the entire game, and I got kind of a mouthful as to why, especially given that I've said in other videos that I really like tough courses with lots of advanced strategies, and this one doesn't really have any of that outside of the ending cut. So why do I like the track so much? Well, first of all, that ending cut really is one of the most ridiculous things in the entire game. That delayed trick boost tech isn't used in many places, but it's one of those things where coming up with it is, well, there's really no other word for it, it's ingenious. The reason that it's not used that much is that there's almost never a benefit to delaying a trick boost. Like, why would it matter if you get the trick boost now or a couple of tenths of a second from now? But that's exactly what I mean. Delaying that last trick boost for just a couple extra tenths of a second allows you to take this ridiculous shortcut that saves at least half a second per lap when done optimally, and this strategy would literally be impossible without it. I don't know who first discovered this technique or thought to apply it here, but I mean, it really is just a stroke of genius, and it's incredibly satisfying when it works out properly. Okay, I promise I'm done talking about the shortcut now, because just being completely honest, one strategy, no matter how cool, is not enough to carry a track when the rest of the driving is sort of middle of the road if we're being honest. But what really elevates this track above the rest in my opinion is the atmosphere. I love the concept of flying through a rainforest, and the whole track really just sells that feeling, especially the music. Anyone who's watched my track ranking video knows that I'm kind of a sucker for music, and Wild Woods has my favorite song in the entire game. Like Peach Gardens, it's one of the only tracks in the game that has its own unique time signature, in this case 5-4, which makes it really just stand out to me in terms of the vibe of the track. In general, I guess if I had to sum it up, the course looks amazing, it sounds amazing, and I have a lot of fun playing it. And that's everything you need to know to play Wild Woods on 150cc. I love the course, and I hope that after watching this video you can all appreciate it a bit more as well. Thank you all very much for taking the time out of your day to do some basic training, and as always, I will see you in the next video.